I want to know your thoughts on how the pre-season has been going. You're always upbeat, you're very positive, and I do like your refreshing voice. So from your perspective and for the Saints fans, how's it been?
Well, it's pretty exciting today. We sort of kick off with our intra-club game, and it's our members' day as well. So it's sort of the, I suppose, official for most clubs when they have their intra-club. They know it's sort of full steam ahead, and that's the exciting part. We're sort of pretty healthy at the moment. Touch wood, Nick Caulfield did the ACL, which was a shame. He had a fantastic pre-season, but outside of that, we're pretty healthy, and most blokes ready to go, which is fantastic.
How much and at what point do you put last year behind you? I mean, there was some good, there was inconsistencies, there was some big losses, there was some good wins, and there was a whole heap of injuries, Rats. At what stage did you forget about that and move on?
Oh, I think you've always got to look at why it happened, and it wasn't just one thing. It was probably a cumulative of a bit of everything. And really, our new form and the way that we played sort of through that season and being up there, we built some really strong relationships, but really maybe the foundation of what we're trying to be as a team wasn't there, and maybe got exposed a bit early, and it allowed us to maybe then reflect back through sort of the middle part of the year and look at where we want to get to and what we want to become as a football team. And really, the second half of the year was very encouraging. We still had a few injuries, but with that, we really got to find out about Sharman and Burns and Conley and Highmore and some young players coming into the team, which gave them great exposure. And really, when you look at your list now, you say, these blokes have played a handful of games. They're not just players that we're developing. They've been exposed to AFL football. And that gives us a lot of depth and gives us, makes it pretty hard to spot. So that's why today will be exciting too, to see, blokes running against each other and really fighting for spots for round one.
The health of your squad, I mean, it's luck, it's management. You've got a new high performance man come in, the impact of that, but also the players that hardly played last year. Marshall 13 games, Gresham and Gearing 3 each, Hanbury and Ryder missed a whole heap of footy. Clark and Jones were the same. So just a holistic view of the health of those key players.
Yeah, well, Marshall hasn't missed a beat. I think all clubs and, everybody out there has been affected by COVID at stages, and, we've had players and staff as well. And so they sort of have a week off, and then they sort of build in for another week. But outside that, Marshall hasn't missed a beat and training really well. Paddy and Dan are on their own program, so we've got to look after, Paddy at his age and Dan with sort of his injury history. So we don't try and push too hard too early with those boys. So they're doing their own program and trying to build for round one, which is looking likely. So that's great. And Gresham is about to play in the intra-club, and same with Patton as well, which, for Benny to break his leg and then now return, he looks really comfortable. And the last probably 2 weeks for Ben Patton is, you can see his confidence with his body, but just playing again. And he looks like the Benny Patton of, before he got injured, which is fantastic. He's got a lot of confidence back. But, Gresham's the X factor for our team, and he's done everything that he can to get ready, and he's progressing really well. And he should play against, we've got Carlton the following week, and he'll play against them and just keep building towards Essendon and then round one.
And he'll play midfield?
He'll play forward midfield, yep.
You've got a couple of players training on. Some of them we know a little bit about, some of them we don't. Jack Hayes has been a star of the SANFL. He's been the best player in that competition by a mile for a while. Patrick Nation and Jared Leanett from Port Adelaide. Are any of those three close to getting a gig, and when will you make that call?
We've got a little bit of time, and I think when you come in, if you give a player a week or two, it's really hard to sort of settle in and showcase what you can do. And for us to allow them, especially Jack, we've given Jack a long period. He had to go back to South Australia for a couple of things, for work and that. So we allowed him to go back, which is, that's fair enough. But for the other boys, we want to give them, 2 to 3 weeks so they can settle in, feel comfortable, and really then, showcase what they can do. But the three boys all bring different skill sets and some things that we need as a team. So the decision will be made sort of closer to that deadline, and but they're going well. Like Jared and Pat just came in only for one real session, and they played really well in sort of, just a little mini hit out there for probably about 20 minutes, and they were playing really well, and Jack's performed pretty solid throughout this period.
The perception of some Saints fans would be that you're a bit light on down back, particularly key position players, Carlisle, Frawley, Robertson, to a lesser extent, McKernan, big bodies depart your list, and, Wilkie and Dougal Howard are very solid AFL players now. But what's that back six, particularly with the tools, going to look like, and how competitive has it been for those spots?
Yeah, but it's been really competitive. We've played Josh Battle down back again, and just settled him down. His ability to be 193 and play on a wing, play forward, play back, even second ruck, he's done really well. But we want to give him some sort of clarity on what this season looked like, and we're going to play him down back. He's played predominantly with Howard and Wilkie, but Highmore's had a really good pre-season as well, and who knows with Jared, he's 195. He's not on our list yet, but we've got some depth there, and then you've got Dara Joyce as well. Oscar Adams, Matty Ellison. So we've got some young players there, but Dara Joyce last month has been really solid, so that's really pleasing as well.
And then let's get excited about some of the young players that you've drafted. In particular, I'm fascinated by Nasiah, pick 11 in the draft. What has he been, and has he delivered to what you thought he would, albeit he's a skinny player who's young, so it's going to take some time?
Yeah, well, when he first came across before Christmas, he one of the early sessions he sort of landed and rolled his knee and bruised his knee. So he sort of took it really easy to Christmas, and then he had COVID, so he didn't come back on the 10th. He came back on the 17th. So we've gone fairly slow, but he's been introduced to training now, and he's probably trained with the group. We've sort of matched him probably 3 or 4 times. He'll play today. He's a beautiful mover, kicks the ball. Like, he'd be in the top couple of with kicking skills at our football club. He's a beautiful kick, and it's hard not to get excited when you look at him. And I don't want to build him up too much, but he's still developing. But his movement qualities and the way he uses the ball is outstanding. And I'm really waiting to see his development over time. But it is for Saints supporters. He's a bit of that class we need to, find Max and a few other forwards down there. So the delivery is, perfect inside 50, and he does bring that.
So when you have a weapon that is one of the better kicks in the competition, the balance to use them across half back, and we've seen coaches and clubs do that because of the ball use is important there, but also I think it's almost more important that last kick inside 50. What do you debate with where to play players with weapons like that?
Depends where the ball is going. If we can keep it in our front half, we want him in the front half. And if the ball's in the back half, can he get it out for us? That's the debate. And that's, hopefully the ball's always in our front half. But, that's the same with Hill as well. Hill's a quality user of the footy, and so is Sinclair and Webster. So depends how many you got in your team. And, it does allow us to play Nasiah up around that wing and even at half forward at times, just to bring the ball into our front 50, because we do have some other kickers behind the ball. So, he's got an attribute that will be rated very highly in the competition. But, he's only a young man, but he'll play some games, whether it's this year, but he's really going well.
How close would you be to your 22? And it would never be 22, but say a squad of 25, 26. Are you getting closer to that point, or are you just going to see how it develops over the pre-season?
We're getting pretty close. Today will sort of give us a better indication on a few. But I think we'll be, the Carlton game, we'll play sort of 20, 24 and sort of have 26, a couple just sitting there so we can manage a couple of players if we need to. And then we build into the Essendon game, which will be pretty close to, full strength by round, for the round 1 game against Collingwood. So we'll be pretty close there. We might be just waiting on a couple who might need a little bit more time, but it'll be pretty close.
I'm conscious of your time, just a couple of quick ones off the text. Saints fans just asking about Max King, and I mean, what a player he's going to be, but just how he is after the news of his brother, I guess. Being a twin, unless you are a twin, it's hard to know, but how has he been affected by that devastating news?
I think early doors, I rang Max straight away when I heard the news just to sort of see how he is, because, they're virtually best mates, and Max has done an ACL. So there would have been so many thoughts going through his head, and, but, Ben came home pretty quick, which was good, and excuse me, they spent a bit of time together, which is great. And Max, and I spoke to Max about, he's going to be there to talk to sort of, pretty much his best mate, and also tell him what happened when he had the ACL and what worked for him. And it's good to bounce a few things off. And I said, you're going to be really important for Max, for Ben, Max in, talking about this and overcoming it, and maybe even talk to him about the fear of returning and running. And it's pretty good for Ben to have Max right there to tell him what's going on in his life through an ACL. And the news for any player, Caulfield, Ben King, anybody out there to do an ACL, and all that hard work that they've done is so shattering. But to have somebody to bounce some ideas or some feelings through their journey through the ACL will be important for all players. You
mentioned Caulfield. How do you keep players like that engaged in the program?
Well, it's interesting. I think because we've all got experience. I did a medial ligament back in '94, and I've told this story to a lot of players. It was probably one of my greatest growth years as a player. I didn't even get really out in the park. I played the first few games, did a medial ligament, but I became a student of the game. I kept going to other games, watching, trying to understand the players that I might play against, the teams, the styles. So that's the bit that I've sort of challenged Nick on. How can he still develop as a footballer to become 10%, 20% better, even though he's not going to be out in the park? He's going to help out with some of our strategy, maybe point kick-ins, a few things with Corey Enright, so he stays engaged with the group. But it might be a year that you don't put foot on the grass really as a player, but you can improve significantly with understanding the game and what it requires.
You're one of those people I could talk footy with for hours, mate, but I'm conscious of your time. We really appreciate how generous the club and yourself have been with our station today. So good luck for the hit out today and good luck for the season ahead.